Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Thursdays. I'm back. Apologies, you haven't heard from me the last couple of days. Been away with the kids, chasing them around at Drayton Manor theme park and Thomas the Tank Engine World. God bless the Easter holidays. But I'm back now, although I'm away all of next week as well. Lots of family time going on at the moment with the kids off school, so apologies for that. Missing Chelsea and Man United as well, so two big games there that I'm not going to be around for. Knew about the United game when I booked the time off, didn't know about Chelsea. Obviously it was rescheduled into that week, which is a bit annoying, but nothing I can do about that. So you will hear from me for the next couple of days. I will be at Southampton as normal, but then there will be a bit of radio silence from me for the next week, which you'll probably all enjoy, to be honest. But I will be back after the United game, and hopefully to discuss a positive end to the season for Arsenal. Let's wait and see, shall we? Anyway, I wanted to start today's video talk a little bit about Gabriel, who's in the news at the moment because of interest from Barcelona in him. Reports coming from Spain that Barca are very keen on Gabriel, which I thought was quite interesting, because I've seen quite a bit of reaction to it. You know, people discussing whether you would sell Gabriel or not. I mean, obviously we don't know what sort of money Barca would be tempted to offer if they pursue this interest and step it up and actually bid. I mean, we won't know until the summer. Will we have to wait and see? But, if they say bid, what did Arsenal sign him for? About 27 million. You think Arsenal, you think a realistic offer maybe would be double that, something for a player who's now a Brazil international, who's still very young, who's got years left on his contract. You'd be pushing 50 million, 60 million maybe for Gabriel, I don't know. But say that's the figure that Barcelona were offering. Would you sell Gabriel? Now that has been a debate that I've seen going on the last couple of days when I've been checking my phone while I've been running around Drayton Manor theme park. And it got me thinking. Now, I spoke a little bit about this when the Real Madrid interest in Kieran Tierney sort of rumours started, and I feel it's the same real position here, or I'm taking the same position here with the Gabriel rumours, and that is basically, why would you sell? How many centre-backs have Arsenal signed in the last 5, 6, 7 year, decade even, and how many have been successful? Not many. And it just makes me think, why would you sell, even if you got a good amount of money for Gabriel, who's clearly a very good centre-back. Look, he's clearly got quite a bit to learn still. I think he's very raw. That was known when Arsenal signed him. I think if I had one criticism of Gabriel, it's that he hasn't quite sort of got that out of his system yet, because he's been here a while now, obviously. He's not the same raw defender he was when he arrived. He's been here a couple of years now, and you kind of look at it and think maybe he should cut out some of the rash stuff that he still does do. Not as much as he did, but he still does do it. So that's maybe one little criticism of Gabriel. But still, he's a very talented young defender. He's forming a really good partnership with Ben White. It's not easy to get top quality left-sided centre-backs, especially at his sort of age, who's going to develop even more. So why would you sell? If you're in the middle of this project, whatever you want to call it, that Arsenal always talk about, you don't sell your best players and the players who you're looking like you're going to build a team around. I know every so often selling can be good, and people always point to Liverpool and when they sold Coutinho and what that did for them, and how that helped the Klopp revolution. And I understand that, but look, Arsenal aren't going to get a £150 million offer for Gabriel like Liverpool did for Coutinho. It's not going to be in that ballpark. It will be around, if one comes in, it'll be around £50 million perhaps. That's not life-changing money. That's not game-changing money when it comes to helping build your squad. And you'd have to replace him. Yes, you got Saliba, but still, you'd have to replace him, because even if Saliba came in and then you played Saliba and White together, you'd have to bring in a replacement for Gabriel. It's just plain and simple. So a lot of that money would have to go on a new centre-back, and there's no guarantees that he's going to hit the ground running. As I said, how many centre-backs have Arsenal used in the last 5, 6, 7 years, or brought in from various clubs, and very rarely, they haven't really worked. They finally brought someone in who works and looks like a very good player, very talented defender, someone who's going to get better and better, who is now adjusted to the Premier League. Why would you get rid of him after 2 years? If you want to be taken seriously, which Arsenal say they do, then you don't sell your best players. For too long now, we've had Arsenal players going when other clubs come come knocking, and I really hope that doesn't happen this summer with Gabriel, because he's a very talented young player. And for me, he's the sort of player you want to build a team around and improve on. And if Barcelona did come in, I really hope that Arsenal, very firmly tell them where to go. And nothing that I've heard suggests that they wouldn't. I know that they massively value Gabriel and they're really delighted with how he's doing. So hopefully, if Barca did entertain making a bid, Arsenal would basically tell him to go and find someone else. And Arsenal aren't just you're in this project. You don't want to be selling players. You want to keep building on it. You want to have these signings who are a success, and you want to add to them. That's what Arsenal have done the last couple of windows. There's still lots of work to do. We know that the squad is still really, really thin. So you don't want to do. This summer has to be about buying players. You don't need to be selling players and buying players. They've got rid of it pretty much everyone over the last 2 years. You don't want to then start getting rid of your first team starters as well, because that just knocks you back in the where you are in this project. I hate calling it that, but it just knocks you back to square one almost, and you've got to start all over again. So that's my views on Gabriel. Well, let me know, would you be tempted to sell Gabriel if an offer came in for him, say 50 or 60 million for Barcelona? Is that something that Arsenal should look, to potentially do? Or, like I think, should they be telling Barca, get stuffed, he's our player and he's going absolutely nowhere? Let me know, as always, in the comments below. Okay, from one centre-back to another, not at Arsenal at the moment, but still an Arsenal player, Pablo Mari. Again, this is a great example of Arsenal signing centre-backs that don't really work out, and that's why, when you find someone like Gabriel, you don't really want to get rid of him. And they signed Pablo Mari. I was quite a big fan of Pablo Mari when he first arrived. Didn't really work out after that, and Arteta lost trust in him, and he did look pretty slow at times. But he's having a very good time in Italy, where he's on loan at Udinese at the moment. He's been speaking a little bit about his future, and it's very clear from what he's had to say here where he would like to see his future lie. He says, "I would like to stay in Italy. I'm very well at Udinese, and I'll be happy to take the club even higher in the standings. Of course, I still have a 2-year contract with Arsenal, so you'll have to see what happens." Now, Arsenal aren't going to stand in Pablo Mari's way should a decent offer come in for him in the summer. I don't think, as far as I'm aware, there is any purchase option in this deal with Udinese, the loan deal, to take him. So I think that would have to be something that is negotiated in the summer should Udinese want to chase it up. Arsenal aren't going to want too much money for Pablo Mari. I think they'll be perfectly happy if they get their money back for what they paid for Corinthians. It was Corinthians? No, it was Flamengo. Yeah, it was Flamengo, wasn't it? That they signed him from. So sort of £6, £7, £8 million mark. I'm sure Arsenal will be probably more than happy just to move Pablo Mari on there. And I hope he does really well, because he's a nice guy. Honestly, everyone you speak to at Arsenal, from the staff, from players to agents, I've never heard anyone say a bad word about Pablo Mari. He's like the most likeable guy in the world, apparently. So no one will want to stand in his way and disrupt his career any longer than it needs to be. So hopefully that is something that will get sorted in the summer. And as I said, that's a perfect example of why Arsenal don't need to be getting rid of players like Gabriel. By all means, move players on like Pablo Mari, but not someone like Gabriel. Because basically, you're looking at next season for the centre backs. If Rob Holding stays and if William Saliba comes back, you're looking at Gabriel, Holding, Saliba and Ben White as your 4 out-and-out centre-backs there to go through the whole season, hopefully with European football. What competition, we have to wait and see, but hopefully with European football. And then potentially, I don't know, Daniel Ballard maybe might come almost be the sort of 5th centre-back in that squad. I'm not sure that'd be great for his career because he's not going to play too much, but it'd be interesting to see what happens with Daniel Ballard in the summer. I suggest he probably will be sold this summer, but we'll have to wait and see. He's having a very good time at Millwall at the moment. So that's that when it comes to Pablo Mari and his future. Again, as always, please let me know what you think Arsenal should do with him. Is he someone who should be given another chance? Or, again, like me, is he someone you think Arsenal needs to just get a deal done, let him move on and be done with it? Right, Unai Emery. Let's talk about Unai Emery a little bit, shall we? I don't want to talk too much about it because it's been in past. But first of all, many congratulations to Unai Emery. What a fantastic job he is doing this season at Villarreal, and last season through to the Champions League semi-finals, which is just a wonderful achievement. Obviously not the first time Villarreal have been there. Arsenal knocked them out in 2006 on the route to the final in the semis. And they are there again after that brilliant win an aggregate against Bayern Munich, drawing 1-1 in Munich this week after the 1-0 win in Spain. And obviously there's been lots of talk about Unai Emery and Arsenal on the kind of back of this run to the final, and every win that they get, it's like, oh, Arsenal made a big mistake, letting Unai Emery go, everyone's having their say on it. And it's just, they did not make a mistake letting Unai Emery go, put it that way. They didn't. It was, no one's doubting how good a manager Unai Emery is. We all know he's a top-class manager. His record speaks for itself. Look what he's won. Look how he achieves in Europe. Whether he can do it in the league is another thing, and I think that's certainly up for debate at the moment. Unai Emery, undoubtedly a fantastic cup manager. Whether he can do it in a league over the course of this season, not really been proven yet at all, is it? Question marks over Arsenal, PSG, and those big clubs, really sort of top-level, huge clubs with huge expectations. Certainly has no problems winning stuff for clubs maybe of the stature of Villarreal. But his time was absolutely up at Arsenal. It just hadn't worked. And that is nothing against him. It's nothing against his record, his achievements as a manager. But it was absolutely up. A change was needed. And whether that's Arsenal's fault, whether that's the players' fault, the change room's fault, whatever, it may well have been. But that's just a situation that had happened. It had manifested at Arsenal. He had totally lost the changing room. He'd lost, or the vast majority of the changing room. He'd lost himself a little bit, and I think he'd lost a lot of his self-confidence as well. I mean, I was there in and around the place towards the end of Unai Emery, and you'd watch the training sessions. I remember the day before he got fired, or the day before the Frankfurt game, which was his last game, being at London Colney that day, and it was just so apparent that everything had sort of, just a life had been sucked out of Arsenal by that point. The players weren't talking to him. He was on his own over on the side, and it was just a really weird atmosphere. And you could tell something had to happen. And again, this is not having a go at Unai Emery at all in terms of what he's achieved and how good he is as a manager, because there's no doubt in that. But in terms of just Arsenal and taking Arsenal as a individual thing, it was absolutely a necessity. The change was a necessity. Things were not going to get any better. It was not going to be a sudden click of the fingers and that form that had been going on since towards the end of the first season, when they had the sort of collapse after the Crystal Palace game. It wasn't going to suddenly come back. And I think you've got to separate Arteta, Arsenal, Emery out of all of it and just look at it as that situation. That doesn't mean that I can totally understand why a lot of people think Arteta should go, and that he's been treated far better than Unai Emery. Maybe he has, and that, he's certainly been given a lot of leeway considering his 2 league positions. Don't think anyone could have had any complaints had Mikel Arteta been fired by now. But in terms of Emery and where it had got to at Arsenal, it had to happen. No matter, it can't be revisionist about the whole thing now that he's doing well at Villarreal and thinking, Arsenal made a mistake. They didn't make a mistake. They had to do it. It had to be done. It was clear it had to be done. And I'm not saying that's Unai Emery's fault. Like I'm saying, it's probably the players' fault, the squad's fault, the change room's fault, everyone's fault, because the relationship had just come to the end of the road. Even Unai Emery accepted that it had to be done. The other day I heard in the press conference when he was talking about it, he knew it had to be done. He admitted he'd lost the fans and it had to be done. They're playing in front of empty stadiums or half-empty stadiums every week. So, yeah, absolutely many congratulations to Unai Emery for what he's doing at Arsenal. But I don't think we can sit here now and just because what he's doing at Villarreal, we can't just sit here now and say just because he's had this good run to the Champions League semi-finals, which is a brilliant run. We'd all kill for that as Arsenal fans to be in the Champions League semi-final right now. I don't think that means that it was a mistake to let him go. It just wasn't. It just didn't work out at Arsenal. It's as simple as that. Okay, so finally, before I go, obviously 2 days away from Southampton now, press conference with Mikel Arteta tomorrow at London Colney, 10 a.m, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Who starts in that game? And we don't know exactly what's going on team news-wise yet. We'll probably find that out at the press conference, or certainly get a little bit of hint of it. But we know there's going to be no Thomas Partey, we know there's going to be no Kieran Tierney, we know there's going to be no Takahiro Tomiyasu. So what are Arsenal going to do? Who starts in that game? Can Lacazette again start a game when he hasn't scored for so long in open play and is basically providing no real threat at the moment, such as his level of confidence? For me, I said it before the last game, he shouldn't be starting, and I certainly think after that performance against Brighton, he shouldn't be starting. 8 passes, I mean, just incredible. Arsenal were absolutely playing with 10 men in that game. He shouldn't be starting for me, but I think the main thing is who starts in what positions. Mikel Arteta clearly made an error last week. There was no doubt about it. It was obvious for all to see. hopefully it was obvious for him to see, and he doesn't repeat the same thing this weekend. Just bring Nuno Tavares back at left back, play Granit Xhaka in midfield. Don't disrupt yourself too much just because of these injuries that we've seen to some key players now. It just didn't work last weekend. Granit Xhaka at left back doesn't work. It leaves the midfield exposed. You move too many people out of positions. Odegaard plays too deep. It just didn't work. And I'm just praying that when we get to the St Mary's on Saturday and the team news is announced, we see that Arsenal have kind of reverted a little bit to type and Tavares is back in the team, and we just sort of go with that formation that we've seen from Arsenal recently, that's going to have Granit Xhaka at the base, Odegaard and Sambi just slightly ahead of them, and then the front three, whoever it may be. So who starts versus Southampton? There's still plenty of debate about it, but for me, I just want to see Tavares at left back, Granit Xhaka at central midfield, and then I would go with Gabriel Martinelli as the central striker. I'll be back tomorrow after the press conference, Mikel Arteta, and I'll try and do my predicted 11 for that game. So keep your eyes peeled for that video. Thank you very much for watching today. Enjoy yourself. 20 degrees out there. Go out and enjoy the sunshine if you can. Have a very good day. I'll speak to you soon.